Element 19, or B10, reviews the requirements, and remember your QAPP doesn't have to provide all the procedures because you've got those attached as SOPs, but it provides the requirements for how you're going to manage your data. And if you look at the Element 19 example and you use the navigation pane, you could go through the headers, which are recording. So how are you going to make sure that your analyzer, your equipment, actually captures the data that it's designed to capture? How are you going to check on that? It goes over transmittal and verification. So every time you move data off of your equipment into your database, into Excel sheets, if you're analyzing some data using Excel, how are you going to make sure that you're not losing records and you're not having any records get corrupted or written over? Then the next is security. So you need to also make sure, in addition to getting all the data, you need to make sure that there's been nobody who could have possibly tampered with your data. So everybody's database and everybody's computers is password protected. The guidelines for transferring data. In general, people need to look at their data at least every 2 weeks because most QC checks happen about every 2 weeks, and you don't want to go too long because then if you find something has gone wrong, you will have to invalidate your data till the last passing QC or maintenance check. The intervals, it's helpful to stick to the same intervals, then you know you're going to generally have 2100 rows of data, for example. It helps you know what to expect every time you transfer data. This example, Element 19, goes over folders. You can just refer back to Element 9 if you've discussed your file naming convention and your folder names and how you're organizing your data both in paper and on the computer. If you've already discussed that thoroughly in Element 9, then you can refer back to that. The criteria for data review. In this element is the place where you would put a list of the codes that come off of your instrument, as well as your own codes that you may apply. It talks about what information you need to review the data. Data review documentation, so how are you going to make sure that when you review the data at every stage, that review is documented. It goes over also how you store the data and how you archive it and how long you keep data, because we are able to store things, even paper files now, as scanned PDFs, for example. There's really no reason not to keep all of your data indefinitely, but the requirement is for at least 5 years. And then data qualifiers. So from your database program or your data logger or the Tribal Data Toolbox, which we've used as an example here, what qualifier codes? In general, these are going to be consistent with AQS null value codes, but you'll probably have more qualifiers. You may have qualifiers that you find useful that you assign. So a list of the qualifiers would be in Element 19. Another resource is a flowchart. This is an example data management flowchart for continuous methods, and this is just an example. This is not password protected at all, so feel free to edit this, but it is a good idea to think through how you're going to review your data, what checks are going to be done at every stage, and who is responsible for that step and where that step is going to be documented. So this is a flowchart that we encourage you to adapt for your use. And it basically assumes that you're going to be downloading data every 2 weeks, doing QC checks every 2 weeks. You're going to have somebody who has an independent QA function doing the data review every quarter. Keep in mind that when you reference checklists or SOPs in your QAPP, you have to have them attached. So we have several examples for you in the resources folder and then links to our online library of example forms. But your QAPP needs to have anything that you reference that you're going to use in your program as an attachment.